Okay.
I have.
You're pushing my buttons, Sarah.
Have highlighted roll call.
Okay. Very good. Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome everybody to a regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors, January 12th, 2020. And we'll go for a roll call at this time.
Supervisor Frazier.
Here.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Here.
Supervisor Rogers is not present. Supervisor Wheeler.
Here.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes. Thank you very much. We have no additions to the agenda, and we will go into closed session. And Council, will you report our closed session items?
Yes, Chairman. There are 2 items for your discussion this morning. The first is Government Code Section 54957, conference with your labor negotiator, Director Alba Gomez, and your CAO, Dave Varney. The employee organization is all units, and also unrepresented employees include your county administrative officer, your chiefs of staff, and your director of human services. Also, you have an existing litigation under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D1, excuse me, a conference with your lead negotiator related to BNSF Railroad Company versus Alameda County, including the County of Madera. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. And are there any members of the public who wish to comment on these items? Seeing none, we will go to closed session. Talk to everybody soon.
Thank you very much.
So we're not sure about supervisor. Hey. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our regular meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors, Tuesday, January 12th, 2021. And I will ask our council to report out from closed session.
Chairman, there are no reportable actions from your closed session.
Very good. Thank you very much. At this time, we will open and close the meeting in memory of individuals. Are there any individuals that the supervisor would like to remember? Yes.
Yeah, I would like to open and close in memory of all of our good friend Chuck Dowd, who passed away this past week. Chuck was very important to this community for a lot of reasons, but obviously the one most known for owning and publishing the Madera Tribune and the free press that is ever important to our democracy. Appreciate him for everything he's done, and was just a very kind man, and opening and closing his memory.
Very good. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else? All right. Let's, at this time, we will have the invocation and pledge allegiance. And I'm going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I'm going to ask Stephanie Agnagnuson to have that honor. Thank you. Pastor Leach.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This morning, I just feel like I need to read a few scriptures and then just close it a couple of words of prayer. In Philippians chapter 4, it says, "Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be known to God, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus." Finally, brethren, our sistren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue, as there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Lord, I thank you today that we can meditate on a lot of really good things. Lord, I pray your very best for this county. Lord, I pray for the decisions that are made today at this meeting of the Madera County Board of Supervisors, that you give them wisdom. Lord, you give them encouragement, give them strength. And Lord, most of all, I pray for the safety of all of our people in the Madera County. I pray that health and that prosperity will rule and reign. And I pray that in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. All right, very good stuff.
Thank you, Roger, but I can't hear nothing.
Me neither. I can hear Tom, but can't hear the board.
I can't hear nobody either. It says it's muted. It says Karen Pogue host is muted. I didn't want to interrupt while
Tom?
Roger was.
Tom, can you hear now?
Now you can, yeah.
And Pastor, let's pray again. Oh, you remember what you said?
Yes, I do.
I prayed with you, Roger.
Great. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless you all.
Thank you, Pastor. All right. Appreciate it. Now is the public comment portion of the meeting. And just a reminder, the first 15 minutes of the meeting are set aside for members of the public to address the board on any matter under the jurisdiction, but not appearing on the agenda. The board will not take action on any items presented under public comment, and speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium and state their name and county residence for the record. And it looks like we have somebody who is recognizable and wishes to provide a public comment.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board, Jared, Deputy Director of Public Works. Wanted to take a chance this morning to introduce you to one of our new staff members. When we had our discussion back on December 15th regarding solid waste, there was mention of our new solid waste manager coming on board, and we have been able to hire someone in that position. This is our new solid waste manager, and his name is Boom Putavong. So it's boom, like just like you would spell it, just like it sounds. So I'm going to give Boom an opportunity to maybe say a couple words and introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Boom Putavong. So it's my second week here, so it's great so far. I feel like this is part of my extended family.
Very good. Boom, if you wouldn't mind just putting the microphone a little bit closer so Supervisor Wheeler can't hear. He's deaf in one ear and can't hear out of the other one. And so,
Right. Right, buddy.
and now where did you work previous to this?
I used to work in Fresno County.
Okay. Well, very good.
Good.
Well, welcome aboard. It's great to have you here. All right.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Are there any other public comments?
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. I'm Tina Rodriguez, Program Manager for the Victim Services Department at Community Action Partnership of Madera County. I come to you this morning hoping that I can attain your support in increasing the safety and protection of staff at Victim Services and the domestic violence population that we serve. I have reported concerns to our agency attorney, Russ Ryan, and have also reported to the Board of Directors at Community Action Partnership of Madera County, and both verbally and in writing. But I have not received any type of instruction or response on that. And the most recent board report submitted via email was dated January 5th at 3:38 and included that I was still waiting for those matters to be responded to. And I note that it was deleted when I checked the board agenda this morning. Sections deleted were this specific part. We are still waiting on a response to the Martha Diaz Shelter Resident Handbook that was submitted via email to Russ Ryan on 9/22/2020 to review and make suggested changes. Written language is needed in the following: notification and acknowledgement of shelter gate and staff, guidelines for steps to take during and after calling 911, notification to DSS, confidentiality and information form, transportation. I strongly urge you to help me expedite a response on these matters. Thank you for your time.
Nina, I'm going to ask staff to work with you as well as CAPMC and to come to resolution. Thank you.
Good morning, Todd Miller, Auditor Controller. I am here to inform you that COVID has taken one of our former county family, Melody Bright, an accountant in our office, passed away over the weekend from COVID.
All right, Todd, well, blessings and God bless you guys and her family. So that's all.
We should open and close in her memory.
Thank you, Todd.
Let's
Thank you,
remember.
Todd.
Let's remember Melanie and add her to the to that. Thank you, Todd. All right. If there's no other public comment,
There was a public comment.
okay.
Part of the record.
For the record, did the clerk receive it? Has been received.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Supervisor. If there's no other items, let's move on to consent calendar. Are there any items that a supervisor would like to have pulled for further discussion?
Yeah, I just would like to pull item D and just talk about it.
I'm sorry, that's D as in dog?
D and dog. Yeah.
Okay. Any other items?
No.
Okay. We would like to address as consideration of entering an agreement with the CDF and fire protection.
Yeah, this is something we've been working on for a while, and with CAL FIRE, and I don't know if Matt or any of them are there from CAL FIRE, but I just wanted to thank them and moving forward with this. I think they were going to have a control burn on it that CAL FIRE is starting to push now again, that we really, really need up here. And it's right next to Goatside there on 49. So it would be a great fuel break and safety measure for that whole community. So.
Okay, very good. We have Matt Watson here that's going to provide a comment.
Perfect. Hi,
Yes.
Matt.
Good morning, Supervisor Wheeler. Yes, this fuel break will allow us to, with the local Amador engine there, we'll be able to do some work during the winter months and also summer months. So we'll get that ground prepped and work with our environmental scientists and our forester to eventually get that area burned and just control the vegetation and grass in that area. So we appreciate the board's support on signing this, so thank you.
Very good.
It's really ugly up there right now on that piece of property. Hasn't been anything done for it for years. So, and we own it, so we need to take care of it.
All right. Well, very good. Well, thank you. If there's no other items to discuss, are there any members of the public wishing to comment on any of the consent calendar items? Seeing none, I will.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Roll call vote. Yeah,
Supervisor Frazier,
No, it was Rogers and Gonzalez.
yeah, I know these guys kind of look alike, but
I shake my head to
Yeah.
look like my friend.
Supervisor Rogers. Supervisor Rogers.
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier.
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. There are no discussion items, and our next, our GSA reports are at 10:30, and we need to respect that time as members of the public will be dialing in at 10:30 for those who want to participate. But I would like to move to pending legislation to 7A, a discussion and consideration to authorize a letter in opposition of Senate Bill 55.
I've got that one. Chairman,
Okay.
do you mind if I
Thank-
stay up here to address it, or do you want me to go to the
Please,
podium?
right there, that's good.
We dealt with this issue last year under a different bill number. This one is actually more restrictive and goes not only into the very high fire danger zones, but or more specifically, the very high fire hazard severity zones, but also affects your state responsibility areas. So I have drafted a letter for the board's consideration and the chairman's signature to oppose Senate Bill 55 and to be sent to the author and to the appropriate people that represent the county, both on an elected basis and as legislative advocates. And I can answer any questions I hope that you have.
Okay, very good. Are there any questions of Jay?
No, it's just so stupid when they, city people like that try to put this stuff out. His name is Henry Stern, and I wished I knew where he lived so we could go look and see what kind of, how they keep their property up. Just to try to deny people to live where we want to live is about as unconstitutional as you can get. So, thank you.
Yeah, and I
Need
think
to
a lot of
write
it
this
is
and back.
dealt with just from a dollars and cents. You know, if you can't get the insurance, you can't, like, there is a cost to it, and then a risk that goes with it that people will knowingly take on and should be able to take on if that's
It's called the marketplace.
right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, Tom, it sounds like you might be in opposition of SB 55.
Just a little.
All right, very
like to
good.
See
Yeah.
him. I'd like to talk to him personally sometime.
Maybe share a cup of coffee, or something.
Right, exactly. I don't drink coffee, but he might. I got
All right, very good. Well, this letter will take some action. So,
I do like the acronym that is very easy, VHFHSZs. I'd like to hear them say that somewhere.
yeah.
VHF.
Very good. So we need to. We have the. Is there anybody from the public wish to make a comment on this?
You
Seeing
have
none.
16 minutes, not 3 this time. If you want to talk at length, you can.
I could go on for a while if you want me to.
Well, I'll accept the motion for action.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Supervisor Rogers. Supervisor Frazier.
Yes.
Supervisor Gonzalez.
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
Chairman Poitras.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Very good. Thank you. Next report will be our GSA report at 10:30. We will recess until that time.
Chairman, would you like to do supervisor and staff reports?
That's
and
true.
fill in?
We could do that. Let me start to my right, Supervisor Frazier.
A couple things. Wanted to let everyone know that we're looking to fill the position on the San Joaquin River Conservancy for the Madera County side. It's less restrictive now than it was before in terms of it needing to just be people along the river that either own and operated a business. So if you're interested in doing that, please send your interest to my office so that we can get that spot filled. It hasn't been filled for about 2 years now. So that's a big thing. Also, my coffee and conversation, which would usually be in 2 weeks or next week, is we're going to reschedule that probably to 2 weeks from now. Also, there's a big vote on the ISM&D for the station relocation that will be coming up this month. So the final draft is out right now. Any comments can be added right now, and we'll take the vote on that and hopefully make that a reality by 2024. So that's all I have.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Supervisor Rogers. Thank you. I have nothing to report. Supervisor Gonzalez.
Just that I chaired my first 5 meeting last week. That was nice and exciting. And I want to wish Supervisor or Chairman Poitras an early happy birthday.
Oh, well, thank you.
Oh, early happy birthday.
Yeah, well, thank you so much.
Can you please mute Supervisor Wheeler at this time?
You think something's coming? Oh, boy. Very good. And Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you. Happy birthday, buddy. If you want to, I'll sing it to you. But if you don't want to, that's okay too.
That's all right. Yeah, this is a milestone. This will be an interesting
70?
50?
Thank you. Thank you.
You're catching up with me.
I'm catching up. Yeah. 65.
Anyway,
Yep.
I had a town hall last Thursday, and we had 63 people join on, so it was really great. And I want to thank all our employees and all the people that participated for coming on board with it. And then yesterday, Jeff Alio, how you spell it, Aiello, the movie guy from up here, is going to be on PBS. He's doing a documentary on the forest health and the creek fire. So we drove up to the creek fire yesterday, and he videoed me for about 3 hours and talking about the forest and logging and everything else. So I think it starts next Wednesday night at 7:30, I believe. Get on Facebook, you can find it there. But he does these movies and stuff from all over the world. I mean, he's really, really good, and he grew up here. So it's going to be interesting to see how it come out. I'm anxious to see what he quoted me on and let me talk. So.
Yeah, that's part of the My Job Depends on Ag series that they're doing, and
Yep.
Right.
That's what it is. Thank you, Rob.
Right, and that Tom appears a lot on PBS. I saw his PBS debut about a month ago. He was on Huell Hauser back in 1995. They were looking for the center of North Fork, and there was a young Tom Wheeler there representing North Fork, a coalition looking for the center of California. Did a great job.
Thank you. That was quite a deal, I tell you.
Very good. And let's move on to our CAO.
Chairman, I have nothing to report. However, Dr. Paul is here, I believe, to give you a brief update on COVID and vaccinations and things.
Okay. Let me ask our counsel if she has anything she'd like to share, and then we'll.
Thank you, Chairman. Just that on Thursday and in February, the county will be moving forward with AB 1234 ethics training, and I'm looking forward to that time with those that will be attending.
Very good. Thank you. And clerk of the board, any?
Nothing to report.
Okay, very good. Well, Dr. Paul, you're on.
Good morning. Oh, is this on? Yeah, Chairman of the board, members of the board, thank you very much for the opportunity to kind of update you on where we're at with the vaccine rollout in Madera County. As you know, our case numbers are high. The hospitals in the region are across the board very full. So we've been doing a lot of work to prevent the spread of COVID, but obviously vaccination is one huge new tool that can really, really make a difference. So rolling it out is critical. In the last month, it's been available for about a month when the first allocation came to Madera County. We've been able to vaccinate basically all of the healthcare workers, most critically protecting our inpatient at the hospitals, because as you know, they're swamped. The biggest issue for hospitals is staffing shortages. So if they have people who are out sick, out in quarantine, that makes a short resource really critical. So in the last month, we've received a total of about 7,700 doses of COVID vaccine. We've been able to administer about 45% of that, 3,500 doses, which leaves about 4,000 waiting to be administered. We are rapidly moving through the tiers. Today, we're opening up to moving into phase 1B, which in the first step today is everybody over age 75 would now be eligible for the vaccine. Aside from just getting the vaccine out to people, the other critical components are developing a vaccination program. It is not actually the vaccination that protects people, it's a vaccination program. So we have other partners that are getting ready to scale up. They've all solved the difficulties with the cold chain and how to administer it. Right now, Camarena Clinics, Madera Community Hospital, and Valley Children's Hospital are all ready to administer vaccination. We have several other clinics that we'll be able to allocate vaccine to in the next week. So those initial problems are solved, and they're also ready to scale up. For the health department, some of those areas, some of those vaccinating locations are mostly able to vaccinate their own patient population, which leaves a large amount of the population that needs other sites to go to, which is what the health department has been focusing on. We've developed our own vaccine clinic, not just with the goal of getting off the ground, but making it rapidly scalable. So at the same time that we've developed the clinic, we've also created a website where people can log in, determine if they are currently eligible, and make an appointment if they are. Because we could have done that by hand initially, but that is not scalable. And the other thing is we've also created a sign up to be a volunteer site. So anybody who wants to help out, whether it's with registration, things don't need a clinical degree, or also clinicians are able to sign up and be able to help us rapidly expand our clinics. And that's critical. Some of those things sound easy. The California Medical and Nursing Association announced they have many people who are willing to volunteer, retired doctors, nurses, people in between are willing to help out. However, you still have to have their credentials, know who they are, get them signed up with the county before you can have them actually treating patients. So getting that ramped up is also critical, because I think that's going to be key to expanding our vaccination efforts in the future. Similarly with schools, school health staff, nurses, health aides are all eligible already. We desperately want to open it up to teachers. And one way we think we may be able to do that is now that we have the structure in place, actually school nurses, other people may be able to volunteer to help out and vaccinate their staff as well. So we're moving rapidly through those tiers. And at the same time, the ground is sort of shifting under us at the same time, because I think things have changed very fast from what people expected. I think the initial expectation from the state was we'd have a very limited supply, have to be very careful about prioritizing it so that we didn't miss, patient hospital staff. Very quickly, much more vaccine is becoming available, and they're realizing that is not the issue. The issue is just getting it out to a lot of people. So the state, I think, will also be rolling out, just like they did for testing, options that hopefully we'll be able to get to Madera County. The OptumServe testing site, we built our own mobile test site, and that helped us scale up. My guess is they'll start to develop options like that as well, sort of the Optum vaccine site, where we could have a single location where people can get vaccinated. The other issue with increasing eligibility is we want to be careful that it's one thing to say everybody's eligible, but if they have nowhere to go, that's not terribly helpful and can lead to a lot of chaos. Opening it up to over 75 adds about 6,000 people who qualify for vaccination, and that's sort of similar to the scale that we've been on recently with vaccinating the hospitals. Going to age 65 adds another 20 to 25,000 people that are eligible for the vaccination. And it's good to start vaccinating those people, but you also have to be careful. We do not know what the vaccine supply is going to be long-term, and we are also struggling with issues like how do we do it in the foothills areas so that people there have access, and you would not want to use up all of the vaccine in one part of the county with it not being available in other parts of the county. So there are issues like that other providers aren't necessarily their issue, like they want to vaccinate their own patients, that the health department is trying to maintain some awareness of so as to try and make this roll out to everybody, so that as we open up the phases, people know they're eligible and they actually have the chance to get the vaccine before we move on to much larger groups. It's tricky to balance that when you have providers that maybe they can't reach that tier, but they can help with vaccinating another group. So our feeling is that's going to be fine as long as it doesn't slow down or limit the vaccine to what would be a higher priority group. Clinics may have contracts with ag providers. They can start vaccinating their people. And if we have enough vaccine that we're not going to run out, and another group can work on the other tiers over 75 and maybe over 65, then it's great to let those people go ahead. So over this week, I think there's going to be a massive change. Who is eligible and what resources we start to see becoming available down the road. You might have heard in the news today, the federal government is, I believe, going to announce or has already announced that they want everybody over 65 to be eligible. which is great. How quickly the California Department of Public Health will switch to those guidelines, I'm not sure, but I think once that's announced, kind of like the horse is out of the barn, that's sort of going to become what people will be doing. And that changes the issue from worrying about prioritizing to worrying about how do we get 20 to 25,000 people vaccinated. And the other issues are, well, sounds simple, but there's a lot of practical issues with this vaccine that are tricky. We can get clinics up and running fast, but then you got to remember people have a second dose, and that's half your clinics in the future is everybody coming back for their second dose. So we're working through those issues. It's more challenging than you might think. There's funny things that come up. For example, doing a mobile clinic in the foothill area we want to do like we do for testing. You can only drive the vaccine once, so it can only go for a 2-hour drive, and it can only go on one drive, so it can't come back. So if you schedule 200 people and thaw 200 doses of vaccine, if only half of them show up, you have to find 100 people in the next 2 hours, or you got to throw out 100 doses of vaccine. So it's clearly a solvable problem. You just need a big waiting list to be able to call all these people up quickly, but you want to make sure that's going to work before you drive up there with 200 doses of vaccine. So all these things make it, no one of them sounds like a big obstacle compared to like doing the flu vaccination, which we're used to vaccinating thousands of people, but you kind of add up all these small things, and it does make it more challenging than one would at first think to run what's normally a straightforward thing, a vaccine clinic. That's my quick summary of where we're at. And I'm happy to take any questions on the vaccine or case rates or fears or anything else related to COVID going on in Madera right now.
Very good. Supervisor Frazier.
Just appreciate the update, Dr. Paul. And in regards to, I know that it's scalable through the online portals, but obviously with our rural footprint, there's a lot of areas without internet access. And then on top of that, so you take in the low internet access just on its face value in the rural area, and then your subset of people that are eligible is 75 and over. They're probably even lower likelihood of having internet or access to the internet because they never needed it when they lived there for 50 years. Why would they need it now? So is there a way, I know it's scalable for the future, but in terms of this first wave and first eligibility, if there's any way that our offices can assist in those rural areas to either get the message out or do maybe mass enrollments, not mass vaccinations, but enrollments into the program for when they're able to get it. We'd like to help in those efforts and lean on some of our partners to get the message out to those people that are harder to reach or don't have the internet access, maybe don't speak English. However we can help.
And that's a critical area. We're looking for volunteers, community-based organizations. We'd rather not slow down the clinic by having to register people on paper there, but we would love to have community organizations, groups, our own staff help people sign up if they can't do it themselves, kind of thing.
Yeah, if we could do like the pre-enrollment, it's a week or so or whatever it takes to get all that entered in, or have a mobile hotspot that we're able to go out with a bank of 2 or 3 computers in our staff just entering them, so that we're not having to duplicate that with a paper process. I think would be great, and I'd love to help too.
And the county's already been working with helping to reassign staff to support, clerical roles, things that can be done by non-clinicians to help us scale up. And it's always an issue here. It's the same issue with testing. When all these testing services show up, it's always 100% online. And it's left to us to figure out, well, how are we going to get people who are not going to have online access into this testing site? Whether it's with in Chowchilla, it has to be online. Can we send staff to sign people up who walk up and can't do it online? And the test site, and we can sign people up. So it's the same issue, but this is even more complicated because there's all these consent forms that people have. When you talk about people who have, don't have English literacy, there's sort of 3 consent forms, neither of which is trivial to wade through. So yeah, those are critical issues.
Yeah, I got a question. Sorry, you can, Rob.
Yeah, Supervisor Wheeler.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. On the website, is it on our MaderaCounty.com?
Yeah, it's the public health, and if you go to a link for the vaccines, it's public health /COVID-19/COVID-vaccines. And where it is right now, you can click, am I eligible? Every day this gets rebuilt and improved. But you can check, and if you meet the criteria, then it takes you to a link where you can schedule an appointment if those clinics are not full. Right now we have openings, right? And that's the idea of how it works, is it helps big people sort out, do they currently have, are they eligible, and then helps them get hooked up for an appointment. How we can coordinate that with other providers in the future so that there could be one place anybody in Madera could go to and figure out, can they go to a clinic, can they go to the health department, what are their options? You know, other things are opening up. Pharmacies are going to start being able to give the vaccine. And I didn't mention one of the most critical groups is the skilled nursing facilities, long-term care facilities. And they are being vaccinated through a program with CVS and Walgreens. And I know at least 2, and I think 3 of those locations have already been visited where they vaccinate. They have a very high uptake with the patients, and about 50% of the staff took up the vaccine. And they're coming back to sort of re-educate and work with those staff as well. So that program is also rolling out at the same time as ours. So there will be more partners helping out, which I think is critical.
Very good.
Does Camarina Health up here in the mountains, can they have any of it up here and give shots up here for you?
Yeah, they're working on that as well. We had a conference call with them yesterday to try and figure out where they can get vaccine to, because whether it's them or us, if either one of us can get a site up there, then we feel much better opening it up to larger groups rather than that area being eligible but not having access. So they also have not quite figured out the mobile clinic, but they think they will be able to do it very quickly, both with their mobile clinic van and with their sites, probably their larger one, which is in Oakhurst, right?
Yeah, because we got a lot of, retired people up here that's over the 75. Probably a bigger percentage than there is down there. So I think that's really important. And the second thing is I've got some people that actually got a hold of me, wanted to volunteer, that's like retired nurses and stuff. Who they just get online and sign up, or how do you want to do that?
The volunteer form is actually online as well. So if they have a hard time seeing it, let us know, and I can have the link sent around both for that and the survey, am I eligible? So yeah, and you can sign up whether you're a clinical person signing up to actually be giving vaccines or screening people to make sure they don't have symptoms afterwards. So far, we've had one person have an allergic reaction out of the people we've vaccinated. And they can also sign up if they just want to be doing, registration, working with the public, those kind of roles as well.
Great.
So yeah.
Great. It would be good. And they can get that right on the MaderaCounty.com under COVID. Okay. And then the last question was, I'm 78. How do I do that?
You're eligible today. And if you go to our website, because we just opened it up, I think there's spots today.
Oh, okay. I'll see if I can do that. I don't get on websites.
Yeah, and let us know how it goes, and we'll continue to adjust our access.
If I can do it, then most people can, but if I can't, I'll let you know.
Actually, I really have to thank the staff that put that together. It's not simple to put together a website with links to clinics. We had to start with it's called PopMod, which is the scheduling system. So we had to get that up and running, find out how the links work. They only create a link for each clinic, morning or afternoon. So you can't just go to one site and sign up. You have to actually pick which clinic. So we created on our own website the eligibility form, and it then links you to whichever clinics are now open in that app. So the health department, the people doing that have done an amazing job getting it up in days.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Very good. If there's no other questions, we will thank you so much, Dr. Paul. And now, were we going to get a presentation from Public Health agendized?
We can do that. We can agendize it under staff reports. When Sarah was here last week, the board had asked for a week.
Should be on every week.
Yeah, Sarah had said it would be on every week, so I showed up.
All right, we'll add it.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Dr. Paul, would it be something that we could, like if there was some kind of a call center we had set up here that people could enroll over the phone?
Yeah, that actually, today they're working with the 311 people. And like I said, if we opened it up to 20,000 people over 65, we want to make sure 311 is prepared, right? So that they don't end up, we want as few people calling as possible so that we want people to know they can go to the website first. But for the people who cannot, I believe the plan is that if they got through to 311, they would help them get an appointment. They could check their eligibility and make an appointment for them and tell them where to show up. But that's the problem. Like I said, you have to be careful, because if suddenly 20,000 people are eligible, they're calling and calling and calling and can't get through, it would have been better to go, year by year and not add a whole decade, whatever, just so that the systems can scale up to keep people from being frustrated and wasting their time. So that's what like I said, we're working with 311 today to make sure.
And maybe as a thought that if it's going out, letting people know that they could call 311 maybe from 10 to 11 if your name ends or last name is from A to G or A to F. You call 10 to 11, 11 to 12, G through M, whatever, and break it up like that. And people will still call outside of their times, but at least it would maybe manage when those calls are coming in and when they're.
And if we open stuff up and people, it might take a week or two to get an appointment, that's fine, but we don't want them wasting time trying to find that out, right? So we're just trying to get those pieces before announcing the next year. Rapidly changing, keep working on the plan.
Just this morning I had 2 requests from people. Steve and a Robin, and they wanted to know about the vaccine schedule, and I told them to call 311, and that would be okay to do that.
That's fine, because I don't think too many people have started to call them yet. But even without our announcing anything, I think it's been in the news a lot that the federal government is now changing their recommendation to all over 65, and I think that may actually start to lead to a lot of calls. But we adjust. If they get too many calls, we'll think of some new system, and if they're managing the calls, then great. We're trying to make it as efficient as possible for 311 to get the people through our website to get an appointment if they need one.
Perfect.
Great. Thanks very much.
Very good. Thank you, Doctor. We'll move on to item 6.1, update on the Madera County GSAs.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Stephanie Agneson, Director of Water and Natural Resources, here with Mike Linden for your monthly GSA update. I have changed the format a little bit, so we're going to do a look back, look ahead, and take a look at everything we accomplished and then everything we're looking ahead to accomplishing in the new year. Is it possible to project the screen? Thank you. Okay, item 1 and most important, we delivered 3 groundwater sustainability plans to DWR in January of 2020. So that was a huge deal and a very heavy lift. And you'll recall I started as the plan manager for the Madera Subbasin and then provide technical support to Chowchilla. Because we were missing a signature on the coordination agreement in Madera, we did end up having DWR refer us to the State Water Resources Control Board. We had a successful mediation in June, and we were referred back to DWR. Our plans were posted for public comment, and that just closed right before Christmas. I brought you recent evapotranspiration data to look at trends over time. That's when we noted the urgency of moving ahead with an allocation approach. We updated the GSA fee. That's an admin fee for planning and administration. These are costs that are borne by the county GSAs simply because we now have an additional regulatory requirement. We hosted 3 water market strategy workshops, one in February that was pre-COVID, and then one in April and one in December. Those were both online. We were able to use a lot of our shelter in place time to issue RFPs in March and April so that we were able to get our planning services online and contracted starting in July. So you can see a long list of things that we are purchasing and that are necessary for us to do our job as the groundwater sustainability agencies. I brought you an allocation approach, and we talked through that in the fall. It was adopted in December. And then we co-wrote with Tristan in admin several grant applications, Watershed Coordinator 1, which was going to integrate flood function and GSA function. We did not get that, and they haven't announced who did, but it doesn't look like anyone local did, unfortunately. We have just applied for 2 very large Prop 68 implementation grants to build recharge basins and do on-farm recharge in the Madera and Chowchilla subbasins. That was due January 8th. And then we've also applied for a flood grant for maintenance assistance that will allow us to contract either with Public Works or out to keep the levees and channels clear of vegetation and sediment and rodents. So that was all of what we did in the past. Moving ahead to looking ahead. The most important thing this agency can do is implement an allocation approach successfully. We've talked through what that means. I did want to point out that your agency has the ability to implement penalties, and that's in the water code in section 10732. A penalty could be done a number of different ways, and Mike Linden can talk to that. Perhaps the easiest way is if you're over an allocation, there's a penalty per acre foot, and that is capped at $500 per acre foot.
Who capped it, Stephanie?
It's in the water code with that amount. Now, that doesn't mean that would be the only price that you would pay. We're anticipating a rate study that quantifies project costs for building recharge basins, for purchasing water, for all of the things we need to do as a water agency. So there would be potentially a water rate in addition to that, but the penalty in and of itself is capped at $500 per acre foot over an allocation. And there are, and Mike can talk through this, there's some other ways of looking at the penalties, but I think that's kind of the most relevant.
Okay.
Additionally, in 2021, we will complete our water market simulation. We're going to have the recharge study phase 1 complete, which will take us all the way through all the planning services and environmental work, but not the implementation. It will give us the costs for that, though, to go in the rate study. We should have our Central Valley Project place of use adjustment complete in 2021. The Strategic Agricultural Land Conservation Grant that gives us a structure for land repurposing. That will be complete this spring. We have 2 domestic well inventories. The Chowchilla one is further along because the contract came to us from DWR a lot sooner. That should be complete in 2021. Madera is lagging a little bit behind. And then we have a required data management system that we will need to, this is a place we're storing everything that was generated during the GSP and hopefully will be useful in producing the yearly reports. So that's kind of our look back and look ahead. I did want you to be aware of 4 upcoming meetings. The water market simulation launch is tomorrow, and we will send out information later today to everybody who has registered for the simulation. We have the SALC, the Strategic Agricultural Land Conservation. There's an update 1 day later. That's also a webinar. And then next, January 20th, we're going to do satellite technology with our consultants and talk about how to use the website to measure your evapotranspiration. And then in February, we have a recharge study update webinar. So these are all workshops. They're open to the public. I would be glad to answer your questions, or if you have questions for Mike regarding penalties, we can talk about that as well.
Supervisor Frazier.
Yeah, so the evapotranspiration, they'll be able to have that information at their fingertips too, to do planning. Those are just through a website or their own account?
Yes. So we've registered people for the service. They're going to have their APN is tied to obviously the land that they have, and they will get an estimate of the evapotranspiration on that acreage, and then it will track it according to an allocation.
Are they going to be, is that access also to everybody else's? Are they going to?
No, only themselves.
Okay. You see where the issue could arise pretty quickly of people yelling at each other and, so that, and then on the recharge study, is that also working on building a crediting system for projects that people do personally for recharge?
Yes, David's engineering's going to come back to you and kind of show maybe 3 different options for how we can do recharge. And one of them is a private, public-private partnership, which would result in a credit. There's also another way to do recharge, which is more of a traditional approach where the agency itself is purchasing land and putting in dedicated basins. So we need to have a public discussion about which approach you'd like or whether it's maybe both.
Because, you know, if someone has access to surface water, in past years, they would take what they needed, right? Not, no more. But if there was a benefit for them to be able to, you know, take 5 acres or 10 acres or whatever it was of where they were farming, take extra water during those years that it's available, that might solve some of our problems without us having to put any money in at all, as long as there's a benefit there. So I think making sure that there's that ability is going to be key to the solution here. And I think you'll see a lot more of that and less pushback to just us taking their money just to build our own, which has obviously got to be a part of it as well. But every drop helps. So getting that crediting system is going to be important to the overall.
And now that your board has adopted an allocation, there's something to credit it to.
Right, you credit it to that, and yeah. Thank you.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes, I think it's going to be important to have both aspects of credit available to recharge based on a project, personal, public-private partnership and projects, as well as the mitigation of purchasing from the water district when an allocation is placed into a basin of their choosing, and then the recharge occurs as a result of the district. One of the worries I have, and I think it needs to, I don't know if it can be addressed because we're talking about water districts, but the charging of monies for 215 water above the wheeling costs really concerns me, because I think there's an opportunity for misuse of desperation and need and all of that to, and I'm not saying they're doing that now, but I'm saying the opportunity is there. And it concerns me because when you've got a regulated circumstance anyway, I think you have to consider all aspects of that regulation in order to curtail misuse of the system. And that is definitely an area where it could be misused in overcharging for what is basically free water that's just wheeled. And anyway, I don't know what your thoughts are on that, or if you've thought about that, or if that's been addressed.
Are you talking about the Bureau charging? The Bureau of
I'm talking about the water districts charging for wheeling of 215 water for basically for recharge efforts. And it makes it more difficult for individuals to perform recharge in a personal way. It puts the onus on the back of the agencies when they charge a profit for water that basically they get for free and just wheel it. And I have a concern there. It takes away that ability for the private individual just to, you know, say, okay, I want some of that 215 water, and I'll pay the wheeling cost to get it into my recharge system.
So it doesn't feel like inside baseball to the rest of us. So wheeling charges are rates that you pay to use someone else's system to get water to you. And they are a legitimate thing that's defined in the water code. You're not able to charge kind of a burdensome rate, but you are able to recoup the use of your facilities.
So that is already regulated.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because I've gotten some complaints about
Yeah, because I think where the biggest challenge in that is going to be in the white areas that are outside of the districted areas that
There it
don't
is.
have the infrastructure to take any of that water, even though they would be maybe have land that's close to some of the facilities, but not being able to have the turnoff off of that. That I think that's where the hardest part is going to be in terms of getting that relief or the ability to take that excess water, because they just don't have access. They're not in the district. They don't have an agreement with the district. And I think the districts have to figure out, because they also don't want to expand their boundaries, which is, I understand, especially in this, they don't want to take on the areas that we have to, but who would want those, except for the agency of last resort, as Norm Allender would call it.
Yeah.
But that's going to be, I think that's going to be the tricky part is how to access that, even if they have the means or they have the area to be able to follow and or to put into recharge in a lot of the areas that maybe shouldn't be planted right now. But if there was a benefit to being able to recharge it in those areas, might be good. So I think we just need to have those conversations and fill out the water districts about what they feel about being able to take that on without having to deliver water in years that 215 isn't available. I think that's where they're scared.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. During years of extraordinary events, which don't come that often. I mean, they come once every, let's say every decade, once, twice every decade at the most. There were some of those years like 2016 when we were seeing 10,000 acre feet a day go out to the ocean. That's a lot of water. And that water could have been wheeled to residents of Madera County, which a few days of that means an entire year's offset. A week of that means tremendous things. 3 weeks means a year's worth of overdraft. So, I mean, we need to make it easy during those extraordinary events, to recharge at an extraordinary rate.
Yeah, and 215 was always free because it was nuisance water, and there is no such thing as nuisance water anymore. Every bit is important now. So I think, to your point, David, the costs are going to go up as there becomes more of a market for it. It's no longer nuisance. It's desired or desirable. It's not. It's nothing that you can ever count on is the problem in terms of putting it into the overall picture. But it's something that we need to capture when we can.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rob?
Well said.
Rob?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, item 4, that webinar for recharge on February 4th, I think is very important, Stephanie. I'd really like to advertise that and try to get as many people as we could on that, because that's, I just think that is really going to be one of our saviors, because like this year, we've got only a fraction of our water. I've got just a little over 4 inches so far, and we usually at this time of year have at least 10, 12 inches. And it's so dry up here. I built some fence this last weekend, and I cannot believe I get down 6 inches and I'm down to dry dirt. And pounding posts, I could not believe how hard the ground was. I should be able to drive them in with my hands almost. But I think that what little water we do get, when we do get it on a year that's going to be decent, we got to figure out how to capture every drop of it. I mean, and then also I just was going to say that there's some students out watching the board meeting today, and Grayson Shaw is watching, and I told him I'd mention his name today, so he's been watching all this, and he part of his schooling, and so I wanted to say hi to Grayson. So I think sometimes this Zoom meetings is beneficial to some people, so that really wouldn't have time to go down to the board meeting below. So, and Stephanie, this outline, I actually thanked you Friday when you sent this to me. And I think it's so important that we keep this on the agenda almost every week, just like the COVID, with the way the weather's doing right now, so we can educate the public with what's going to happen and not happen with our water situations if we keep it happening a drought like today, like we are right now.
Right.
The weatherman said this morning 7 more days of dry weather. And I don't know. It's so disheartening, I can't even say. So thank you for the great job you're doing, and thanks for those comments, David and Brett, because we all got to be on top of this.
One more thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I noted that Millerton was at 30% of normal for this time of year. I believe it's around 30%. That's pretty sad. I believe San Luis is also at about 40%. There's only a few basins in the entire state that are at normal for this time of year, and I believe they're both in Merced County. Don Pedro and McClure are both at normal for this time of year. And, that just it gives you a picture. Southern California, they have a system down there that they've had for years, which has in the Diamond Bar area, in that region, they've staved off years of low water allocations by having Pyramid Lake, and of course that's Pyramid Lake's a provider for LA County, I believe, but they've got Pudding Stone and all of these other little basins that they collect water in and recharge at a continual rate. So they've done very well, and I believe recharge is the answer to this whole thing, because we have extraordinary events, and we have to be prepared when they happen, and be ready to put that water in the ground. The best storage is right below our feet, and we don't have to build more storage. We need to build conveyance right now. We need conveyance and being able to get that water where it does the most good.
Thank you. I was just going to mention in regards to the penalties, we can, and I guess it's in the code that we can charge up to $500 an acre foot for over pumping overuse. I'd just like to mention in regard to the penalties, nobody likes that, to charge a penalty. It's not a positive word, but in agenda review, I was talking to some of the staff members there and so forth in regards to, I compared it to traffic laws, and we have speed limits, we have certain laws, stop signs, used to stop at a stop sign and things of that sort. And it's not only for the protection of the person driving the vehicle, but it's also for the protection of the other people who are obeying the law. And unfortunately, we saw a blatant dismissal of the laws a few weeks ago when the kid was driving his Mustang on Bullard and plowed into the car and killed 3 family members, very just innocent people just driving. And when people do disregard that, so excess pumping does hurt. It hurts the people who are playing by the rules. And we do need to take a look at that. I think most people are going to play by the rules, but, we also need to apply pressure because, again, it's people who are, say, in the district or outside of the district who are pumping, then their water is actually getting pumped out by these other people who are disobeying. So we have to do something, put some kind of a penalty in to make it hurt. And $500 an acre foot, that's a lot of money, but there might be some years that, and based on commodity prices, people are willing to pump through $500 an acre foot. So we need to have that ability to maybe even move beyond that. I know in some of the dry years on the west side, people were paying $1,000 an acre foot, $1,500 an acre foot to keep their trees alive because they were getting $3.50, $4 on their almonds. Well, price isn't up there this year, but it's still something that we need to keep in mind. So I think that that's very necessary.
I think the penalty gives you a sideboard to the discussion, right? It kind of, even if we go through a rate study process, we quantify all the projects we need. I know that's going to be a large number. Even if that is not successful, you still have the ability to have an allocation and a penalty. So you don't, I just kind of want that out there.
Yeah, I think, Rob, you bring up a great point. It's something I've thought a lot about when we're talking about mass, that, our laws in this country are there to protect our own individual rights, but they're really there to protect us from taking away somebody else's individual right or individual property right. And in this case, it would be an infringement upon somebody else's individual property right by taking more. And that's where the penalty comes in. It's not attacking your own property right. It's when you're attacking somebody else's property right that the government has to step in and make sure that you don't step over those bounds.
Right. Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Any public comment? No public comment. Can you imagine that? All right. Super. Well, we've gone through supervisor reports and other reports, and we shall, at this time, adjourn.
Thank you.
Everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you.
Tom.